Hey, it's me, Fashion Coder, your crypto bestie, here to help you with all things crypto. And today we are going to be going over Richard Hart's tweet that he posted a 47-minute clip of talking. So guess what I did? I listened to it. I literally took so many notes. I took 2 pages of notes, condensed it into 10 points that he made throughout. So if you don't have the 47 minutes, don't worry. This is going to be less than that, and I'm going to go over the points that he made. So this is a summary of what this was all about. So kind of interesting. So he starts the whole entire conversation with Sam Bankman-Fried, and he's the guy with all the FTX things going on. It's interesting because on all accounts in his trial, he was found guilty. And I love what Richard said about him. He said that he's the opposite of crypto. That obviously, like, if you're going to be in crypto, like, you want to be in the meat and thick of crypto. And Sam, this guy, is the opposite of exactly what that is. And so it's interesting because obviously, like, this is a good, like, victory for justice of him finding, like, and being guilty. But it's not a victory when it comes to taxpayers because, I mean, taxpayers are paying for him to be in jail. And then also, it's kind of a step back for crypto because, I mean, Sam Bankman-Fried was supporting the Democratic Party, which, you know, you do you type thing. But instead of, like, giving them so much money, what he's known for is for crypto. And so it does definitely put a bad name on crypto, which is really unfortunate. But this is the thing, and you know Richard is going to say this time and time again. You do not pick up pennies in front of freight trains, and if they're not your keys, they're not your coins. And so, you know, he obviously went about and talked about this so many different times within this 47-minute clip, which, you know, like, makes sense. It's who he is. So that's point number 1. The second point that he made is the misunderstanding of language in our community. And it's not just, you know, the Pulse Chain Hex community, it's crypto in general. And he tied this in actually with the trial that just happened because there are these words that we use like wallet or, you know, custody, you know, those types of things that are being misunderstood to the outside world that don't understand crypto, and they're kind of being used against us. So he gave a couple of suggestions, and I'm going to read them to you. So he said, you don't have a wallet, you have a keychain. You can't have custody of crypto, you only know the key. You don't have coins, they're database values. And the only one to update the database is miners and validators. And so he gave these couple of examples of ways to update your language as you're talking about these things. And I know, at least for me, like, it took me so long to actually learn the verbiage of what everyone says. It's like, okay, this is going to be like a whole rewiring of the brain to think about it in this other way. But obviously, Richard's a smart man. And if he's saying that we should probably do something, we should probably do something when it comes to this. So that's number 2. Number 3 is people fall into old habits. And this one's actually kind of sad. So he talks about Ben Armstrong. And if you don't know who BitBoy Crypto is, that's who he is. But he has been removed from their company as of what I know because he has gotten back into his drug problem, which is super sad. And so Richard went in and kind of talked about how people, when they're tempted, they fall into their temptation. So he did like touch on that, which I thought was interesting, right? And he was telling him that he cared about him and stuff, but that, like, it's not what it should be. So that was kind of interesting and sad. And then what would a Richard Hart, you know, video or clip be without Richard virtue signaling and telling us all about the cool things that he's done? Because he's an awesome guy, right? And so he went in and talked about how he does work at 100% capacity. He works from the time he wakes up to the time he goes to bed every single day of the week, 7 days a week. And he's here to make the world a better place. And something that I actually really appreciated within his video is he talks so many times about how much he cares about us. And I feel like that definitely showed just like a side of him that I feel like maybe not all of us see all the time. And, you know, he has gone kind of quiet on lots of things, but he did say several times throughout that he cares about us and he wants us to do well, and he wants to see us do well. And so he's here to help us with all of that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. And he's also here to tell people the truth, even if it hurts for us or if it hurts for him too. So That's kind of interesting. He also gave examples. I mean, you all know FTX, Celsius, Voyager. I could probably name others, but those are the ones. Number 5. So he did give a shout out to his community. And of course, the Hex Pulse Chain community would do this. For the 40,000 comments on the IRS case, he talks about this throughout the clip several different times. And that's the thing, is I went through, took the notes on all of these things, and then the things that he repeated many times, that's actually what I put my list together with. So there is that, but he said that there are comments that still need to be needed within a couple of different comment forms with the EU and Australia, and the most effective way for change is to add comments. And so he said that if you want to, make change in your world and want a better world, then you're going to be neck deep in commenting, which I thought was really funny, but here we are. So he did say that, so that's number 5. Number 6 is, why is go.hex.com a collection of links? This got a little bit morbid, but he was like, if I die, or if Pulse goes down, or whatever it is, he was like, you have the opportunity to have whatever code you want on your computer. It's a free right of ours, right? That we get to have that. And so we decide what code we use. And if it's offline, we are actually the network, because it is a peer-to-peer network. And I mean, technically we don't need him. That's what he said. But it is something that we can run on our own. And so that's something too, is like, we have our network, we have our peer-to-peer, and you're able to go in and use the code for whatever reason, whatever you want, which is kind of cool. Number 7, he talked about Uniswap and performance, the good and the bad. And within Uniswap, it's kind of interesting. Uniswap, so they've had a couple of things recently. Their website went down, which, in a way, that's kind of not surprising. So that part's bad. And then also, they're delisting things. Maybe they're not completely decentralized. They're dumping on people, and they just added a fee to their front end, which, is just kind of irritating. The one good thing, though, is they invented free and open source front end, so we can actually run it, which is kind of cool. So that's something that we can do. And yeah, I thought it was interesting that he brought up Uniswap. Obviously, he was talking about how PulseX hasn't had a moment where it was down, which of course, to his knowledge, Hex and Pulse Chain have flawlessly worked. And even just that example, Uniswap went down for a sec. So we love it with that. All right, number 8, he did talk about the Bitcoin ETF and decorrelating from the market. And so, he obviously was talking about how he called the top and all of these things, and how so many people talk about the decorrelation from the stock market for the crypto market. And this is where I found it super interesting. He started talking about how he does not believe that's going to happen. That all these people are saying yes, that's going to decorrelate, crypto is. And he did talk a little bit how Hex correlated from Bitcoin. When he called the top, Hex went up, I think it was a 30x. And so that happened, which is kind of cool. But then and everything went down. We all know that. Everything ended up going down. But he doesn't think that that's going to happen. So yeah, he doesn't believe it. So something kind of interesting for someone who knows so much about crypto. That was just something, that was not a red flag, but a flag of oh, interesting. Number 9, he did make a prediction on the housing market and how the housing market is going to crash and how he thinks the interest rates are going to go down. Obviously, he got into, the different things that are going on within just the markets in general, and what his thoughts were on that. So that was kind of interesting. And then number 10, I wrote this down word for word. So it was the very end of his clip, and he said, make the world a better place. The game is about robustness, privacy, security, decentralization, and then relevant and substantive comments. And he said, wishes the maddest of gains. So it was really nice. It was a good little message. If you have the chance to spend the 47 minutes, definitely go in and watch it. But those are the top 10 things that I got out of it, and the top 10 topics that he talked about. It seriously was all over the place in the sense of we were switching back and forth. A fun fact that I learned about him is he hasn't lived in the United States for 20 years, so he hasn't lived here since 2003, which is kind of crazy. And also he talked a lot about politics at one of the points too. So go watch it. It's a good little chat. and nice to hear Richard's voice again. I'd love to know your thoughts on it if you did watch it, or if you just want to comment on one of the top 10 things. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that too. But I hope you have a great day. Bye.